speaking of day one, that's where we're going to get started right now, Patrick. What I thought we could do, you and I, obviously, I think you said this a long time ago, you being the guy here at APS, we can never give enough information or maybe even too much information to those looking to get into this business. And, you know, that's very honorable of you because, again, it's not like people are trying to guess, oh, my goodness, what's going to happen on day one? Well, obviously, you saw a little bit of what happens on day one, but now we're going to take you in through each day, almost practically hour by hour of what actually happens throughout the training class. It's rare that we ever do this, Patrick.
Yeah, now, let me give a little warning here. We do this from time to time, kind of an overview of the training, and it changes from time to time. Well, that's because the training changes. I mean, literally, we are so on top of this industry, folks, and Cynthia is, that there are numerous dozens of changes that are made to the training every time we do this. And so if you see something on here, you get to the training, it's not quite that way, it's because it changes. It's always new and fresh.
So let's look at day one. Now, Patrick, it sounded like you were almost getting a little bit too loud there, almost where it's going a little bit. So I want to make sure you sound clear. So let's start off with day one. Folks, a lot of folks don't even know what revenue cycle management is. But Patrick, do you want to at least give a little education on that right now and kind of, because this is really where it all starts, right here.
Gosh, this chart is really, really important, folks, because it's a snapshot of what you really are going to be doing. We call this medical billing, at least we did. Many, many years ago, Eric, I actually changed the name of the company. It was American Billing Systems, and we were focused just on billing. But now, as you know, we have about 9 other services that the licensees can offer to even outside businesses outside the medical field. So we changed the name of the company because this is business systems, but it also has to do with revenue cycle management. Now, that's why Eric said earlier, folks, that you graduate from this class with a certification from the MERMA organization, Medical Revenue Management Association of America. And that certificate is there because you are a certified medical revenue manager, not a medical billing person. Medical billers work inside of a doctor's office. Yep. As a business owner, and in our case, we like to designate you as a medical revenue manager because look, here's the 4 sections or slices of the pie as to what you're going to be involved in. The claims preparation itself, of course, including the patient registration and eligibility, can all be done by the staff in the doctor's office for you, so that in the system, they're in there putting stuff in about the patients, and then on your end, of course, you see it in order to do the billing. Same way with the claim submission. Now, that's yours. You don't give them access to that. You're the one that looks at it, verifies some things, and even puts in the charge entry and the rules engine and all that. You're in charge of all that because you're the administrator of the system. So you're basically submitting claims to us. Our built-in clearinghouse inside of our software does all the claims management for you, checking it all out and scrubbing the claims and so forth, and then sending it on to the insurance companies. But that also includes, of course, all the stuff that has to do with the payment, posting, and so forth. And then, of course, there's reporting that you can provide to the doctor, or just give them access to the system and let them log in anytime they want to and look at it.
So, folks, this is what you're really getting here in day one. Not only are you going to learn revenue cycle management, let's make sure that when you're talking with your business coaches here at ABS, that you're talking in those frameworks too. So really, let's kind of erase medical billing and of its such, because Patrick, I think we're all catching this vision right now, is that we're managing the doctor's revenue from the time that the patient literally picks up the phone and calls the doctor to the time that doctor gets paid. And we know that in our world, that has been reduced from a 30 to 60-day payment window down to 7 to 10 days. So a lot of people may be asking, how am I going to even have an edge with all those other medical billing companies out there? That's one of them. And we're going to show you just a taste of that throughout the webinar today. So not only you got to learn about, go ahead.
Yeah, 2 things, Eric. Let me just say there's 2 things really that makes us stand out. One is the built-in clearinghouse. But because of the built-in clearinghouse, folks, that's why our rejection rate on the initial submission of the claims from the insurance companies it's less than 2%. Now,
Right.
if you do your research on this industry, you'll find that that varies from office to office, but most doctors have 20, 30, sometimes even more than that percent rejection on their claims. Now, what that translates into is dollars that are lost in that practice because most of them are so busy seeing patients and seeing new patients and filing new claims that they don't go back and refile the old claims that were rejected. But that's like leaving money on the table, and we go
You
get
bet.
that money.
So not only are you going to learn about the revenue cycle management platform, but again, our advantage. And as Patrick just mentioned, we actually have our own clearinghouse inside, built in. It's all a part. It's no third party practice
Right.
management clearinghouse altogether. Patrick, I know that there are some folks that will say, well, that's not good because you can't choose your own clearinghouse. But
Well, Linda and I had to choose a clearinghouse, and I can tell you what that entails. There's about a dozen or so in the United States. These are just third-party companies that receive the data from you and then scrub the claim clean, which means they check it for a lot of things, and they reformat the data so that each insurance company gets it in a certain way. And for that, you're paying a fee. Well, with us, there's no fee to a clearinghouse because our clearinghouse is built into it. It also means, though, that the rejection rate is way down. And like Eric said earlier, you get the money in 7 to 10 days instead of 30 to 60 days. So the doctors like that.
so as you're thinking, those that are on the call, maybe you're listening to a little bit later, you're trying to figure out, is this the right business for you? Well, there's a couple of things that you need to do. Obviously, attend as many webinars as you can because we're going to try to give you a lot of education here. But if you haven't seen a demonstration of the software, we're going to help you out with that. But again, a lot of people, Patrick, might think, gosh, I don't know all these codes or I don't know all of this terminology. Obviously, that's what we're going to go through again on day one. I know Cynthia takes a good amount of time starting on Monday morning, just kind of going through some medical terminology as we go through this.
Yeah, and she only focuses on the things that you need to know to run this business. Remember, she's been doing it for 10 years, so she knows. A lot of terminology out there has to do with things that you'll never be involved in at all. Maybe there are even hospital stuff, you know. Guys, let me just touch on that just for a second because there's somebody out there on the internet that says, oh, well, they don't do hospital billing. Let me just say this. I don't know of any medical billing company that has taken over the hospital billing.
Right.
It's just not going to be done, folks. There's too many people, too much money, hardware. It's just a different world. And it's not the same claims that you'll be filing for doctors. So, look, maybe there is some business somewhere out there that you could get. We have the ability for you to do hospital billing, but we don't push that because there's no money in that. Go after the big piece of the pie. That's the private doctors in your area. There's lots of them out there. And more every day, Eric, as they quit the hospitals and go back into private practice, they're hating being employees, you know.
You're right. And that's why we put this up here because we want to let you know who your target market is going to be. We're going to obviously talk about that during the training, but let's talk about that real quickly. Patrick just said, you know, there is hospital billing, but if you think of it in a very logical sense, any of us have ever been in sales, you know that there is what's called a sales cycle. From the time you start marketing to them to the time where the doctors or your customer would actually say, yeah, let's do business with you.
Yeah.
You know, here that cycle for a hospital could take anywhere, Patrick, from, gosh, as little as 12 months. It could be out to 24 months before you can even start getting a hospital on board with you. So, you know, everybody that says, well, maybe ABS doesn't do hospital billing, there's a real reason why. Because we don't want to give you any false hopes that, gosh, you could take our software and go bill for a hospital and make billions of dollars. You could, yeah, but hopefully you've got the fortitude to stick with it that long. A provider is a lot easier because we know, Patrick, that people coming out of our training some of them get a doctor within 60 to 90 days. And even if it's less than 6 months, it's certainly not a 2-year sales cycle to try to get a hospital.
Right. And you're right, Eric, there's a lot of committees and, you know, people that you have to go through. Look, folks, we tell people, here's the way to get this business started. Start with one doctor, you know, and we're going to show you how to zero in on that market. But if you can start with one doctor, no matter who they are, even a chiropractor, they won't have a whole lot of claims. There won't be a lot of volume there, but it's a start, right? And we've had licensees that I've interviewed, Eric, on these webinars that have said, Patrick, I did nothing but what you taught me in that class during that week of training. And I went out and got my first client, and I've never done any marketing since then. Why? Because doctors know one another, and they'll refer other people to you, and your business will grow organically. You can't stop it from growing.
You bet. And it all starts with iClaim. As we said earlier, on day one, you're going to start learning, remember, revenue cycle management. You got to learn the terminologies. And then once you've got that, now we're going to start getting into hands-on working claims right directly into the iClaim platform. One thing that you can do, if you're serious about being part of us here at ABS, and you're just waiting for the time to get here to one of our trainings, please make sure that you have done a demo with your business coach that you're working with. Because when you get here to training, you'll already have some experience with that, and then, gosh, you may be teaching and helping out with the next person that's right next to you. And so there's a lot of things that we can help you with, and like as Patrick mentions, we're trying to give you as much information, as much education, even before you get here to the training workshop. Patrick, we know that iClaim is what's called a practice management system. A lot of people think iClaim is just a billing system. You want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, a practice management system, like it sounds, it actually helps you run a practice like this. Now, remember, you're not selling our software. What you're doing is installing this system in their office to change their cash flow and increase their cash flow and put more money in the doctor's pocket at the end of the month. But you can give access to the doctor, to the front office, you, the billing company, of course, behind the scenes have access. And Eric's going to go through some screenshots here in just a moment that will show you more about it. But folks, it's a cloud-based system, so you can run this from anywhere, anytime. It's just amazing when people find out how easy it is to use. Eric, that's why I don't think this picture shows it, but maybe, there's a laptop there or two open. We get people's hands-on, we bring in the laptops, you don't have to bring your own. We bring them into the classroom. You're actually hooking up directly through the internet live to our system. Now, it's not a live account, of course, it's fake claims, but you're going to put in claims for that account, and you'll see how easy it is.
Yeah, this is just another shot of that. So you're going to learn how to work what's called patient intake forms, which is normally taken care of by the front office staff anyway. But you're going to have some experience doing that because, again, you might need to train that office on how to do some of this. And then obviously on the right-hand side is the medical billing part of it, which is called a super bill. Now, a super bill is what the doctor fills out whenever they're seeing you as a patient. And then that's just what they give to their biller to do the billing. So obviously right off the bat, you can find out that you can see all those codes on there. The doctor's giving you the code. So it's not like you have to be a medical coder. You're just a medical revenue management company doing the billing for the doctor. So that's some hands-on. And Patrick, I think what we could do now is just kind of, we can't do a full demonstration, but I can possibly walk a few folks through this, just kind of see how it looks like.
Yes, this is the type of thing that you'd see with a live demo with your ABS business coach, the person who sent you the email to this. But when this is done live by our demonstration personnel, they are going through this live, connected to the internet on a GoToMeeting. You see it live. They're live, and they're going to be able to show you anything and ask her all your questions.
You bet. So let's just kind of take a look at this. So again, this is just a screenshots after screenshot, kind of giving a little demonstration, kind of what you would be doing during that training class on day one. So, Cynthia's going to direct you. She's going to give you several of those super bills to kind of actually input in there directly, manually. And she's going to tell you to go up here to where it says billing, and then we're going to click on billing. Obviously, it's going to drop down here. We're going to look at inner charges, which we're going to look at professional claim charges. Now, that's the terminology used to do doctors' billing. It's called professional claims billing. And so now we're going to look at the actual form. The form is called the CMS 1500 form. CMS stands for the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services, and this is their form that's universal. Patrick, this is universal to all insurance companies, not just Medicare.
Yeah. Yep. Everywhere in the United States.
Yeah, so
of companies.
Yep. And then once we get into that, so we're going to scroll down here to the bottom, and we're going to start inputting. If you can see right down here at the very bottom to the left-hand corner, we're actually going to input the first diagnosis code. Now, the diagnosis code is literally what's wrong with the patient. So you can see here, the code that the doctor gave us is an R05, which represents a diagnosis of a cough. So that's the first thing that the doctor gives us. And then we're going to scroll down a little bit more and get to the part where we're going to input some more information. The first thing we're going to input here is going to be the dates of service. And as you can see there, I've got some of this already pre-filled in here, this is basically what you would be doing. You're going to be putting in those codes. The fee schedules are going to be coming up over there, as you can see that. And it literally will be that easy for you to do. Finally, you're going to come down here where it says create claim and click on create claim, and then poof, you've basically created a claim, and which takes us basically into day 2. Now, before we go any further, Patrick, we finally generated at least one question from Molly. Molly is going to ask the question. I'm going to ask it over to you. Most doctors are using an electronic medical record, or EMR, that ties into their billing. How does your system incorporate it to an office existing EMR system?
Okay, well, first of all, that is a misconception that all doctors have EHR systems. They don't. Believe me, a lot of them opted out of that whole thing when Obamacare came up with all of those regulations. Maybe they're an older doctor who's going to retire soon or whatever. There's a lot of doctors who just did not want to go that route, even though they're penalized from a financial standpoint a slight bit on their payments. But the other thing is that the people who are using their current EHRs hate them.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're finding out there, Eric, aren't we? They just despise those things. So when they see a demo that you invite them to, that our people, our staff, does the live demonstration for the doctor, takes about 45 minutes or so, the doctors are blown away. And Eric has done some of those demos. He can tell you they just can't believe what they're seeing. Technologically, they didn't know it was possible to do some of the things.
You're right. So Molly, you got a great question there. So let me kind of just reiterate that for those that are listening. There are going to be doctors out there that already have an electronic medical records platform.
Right.
They probably spent a lot of money into it.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're very sensitive to that as we're helping you hopefully get the doctor's billing.
Right.
I'll give you the example that, as Patrick mentioned, that I do some of the demos for some of our licensees presenting this. And Patrick, you'll remember Steve Matucci, he actually called me right before we started doing the demo. He says, Eric, just make sure that you stay on the cash side of it. Just stay on the iClaim side of it. I said,
in other words, the doctor said he didn't want to see the EHR at all.
That's right. He said he didn't want it. He was just letting me know, don't show the EMR side. I said, okay.
Did that doctor have an EMR? Do you know?
Yep.
Oh, he did.
So, yeah, so we get through about 10, 15 minutes of the demonstration. If lo and behold, the doctor themselves didn't say, I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. Do you have an EMR system?
Yeah.
I should have said, no, the licensee, the rep there, Steve, says don't show that to you. But of course, we went ahead and did that and actually signed the whole thing for the doctor.
Now, tied in with that question, maybe, and some of you may be thinking on this webinar, well, what if the doctor has all that data, he likes his EMR, and yet he wants you to do the billing? Can that be done? Yes. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why you can't just do the billing through our system. It doesn't. They don't have to use the EMR part of it at all.
Right. Yeah. So the doctors don't have to use it.
Right.
If the doctors want to use it, we'll show it. We'll coach them along and what they need to do with it. So there's a lot of things we'll do. So Molly, great question. And folks, we do encourage you. I mean, there are a lot of people on here, so feel free to go ahead and ask us any questions. So now on day 2, you can kind of know what we did on day 1. We showed you the revenue cycle management. We're teaching you medical terminology. We get you hands-on into actually processing medical claims. And then obviously you got to sleep sometime. So the next day we jump in on the EMR side. So this is where it really gets a lot of fun for me, because I get to actually demonstrate this to the class. Now, Patrick, you know that I did this last Tuesday morning. I actually got to demonstrate the EMR side to the class. And again, even though some have seen it, they themselves were still blown away. But yeah, knowing what it is, EMR X is a cloud-based, all-in-one certified EHR that is fully integrated with iClaim, which means, this is what I like to try to describe, Patrick. Let's say that you go to the doctor's using our system, he gets through seeing you, you walk out of the office, the doctor hits the button after seeing, doing all of your examination with EMR X, and hitting that button, that claim is ready for one of our licensees actually to bill, and that could actually go to the payer, which would be that insurance company, the same day. I don't know if you can explain it any better than that, but there is nothing else out there in the market that can do that.
Yeah. Folks, we go into this in detail in the training, but Eric's right. We have some huge competitive advantages out there in the marketplace. That's one of the reasons why doctors will switch and go to us. And sometimes, Eric, they want to get rid of their EHR and switch to ours.
Yeah.
And they can do that. I mean, there is a certain amount of data in an EHR that can be imported into our system to switch them over to it. But it's not one of those things you'd want to do on a normal basis. So if they have their own EHR and they're happy with it, just let them be happy.
Yep, you get it. Yeah, there's another picture. This was Monday morning. Again, me doing the introduction there. But what I got to do on Tuesday is actually show how we can help customize this EHR for the doctors, kind of go through the whole scenario, connect this EHR with all of their labs. I mean, the doctor never has to write another piece of paper, Patrick. I mean, they could literally get all of this stuff out, as we can see through here.
Yeah, and with our iDocs Now online document management system, they can store all of their paperwork now in the cloud. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine that a doctor can, and this is the great thing. A lot of people ask, well, what about the doctors? Do they have to type this out? Do they always have to use your canned notes? And they don't. Folks, if you can see right there in the middle, they can literally talk into their iPad or Android tablet they're using and dictate their notes right into the iClaim system, I mean the EMR X system.
Yeah, and even with all the weird medical terminology that's out there, it's very accurate. Yeah. They hardly ever have to do any editing. And this cuts down the time that a doctor has to spend entering the notes for an encounter with a patient. Some of them stay for 2 or 3 hours every night just trying to get caught up on it because they didn't do it while they were there. With this, holding the iPad in their hand, the doctors can actually literally put stuff in that turns into notes automatically, and then they can dictate anything else they want, and then boom, it's just there for everybody to access anytime they want to.
You bet. Now, folks, again, what we're going to do here is just show you some few screenshots here of what I would go through on a demonstration with the class, and then at the end of that, we obviously take a lot of questions here towards the end. But one thing I want everybody to kind of recognize here is that this platform is so different than the other platform. Patrick, someone asked me this last Tuesday, what is the challenge again for doctors wanting to switch from their EMR system to this EMR system? And I said, obviously the cost. I think a lot of doctors have spent a lot of money with an EMR system, but we also know that a lot of that cost has to deal with their servers and keeping up with everything else. And it kind of looks a little clunky. This is a web-based system, so there's nothing the doctor has to maintain on an IT position. And the other clever part about the system, if everybody can look towards the center of the screen, down there below, you see 2 people's names. One says Marshall Holly, and the other one's Cooper Gary, which is Gary Cooper and Holly Marshall. You see just to the left of their names, there's an indicator. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm looking at what you're looking at or not. Oh, okay, I do see Gregory House there. Is there another patient listed there?
No, down below, the patients, right down below.
Gotcha. So, Marshall and Cooper. Yeah.
Yep. So if you look just to the left of their names, there's a yellow dot and then a green dot there at the bottom.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what that's indicating to the doctors is letting the doctors know whether that particular patient's insurance has been verified. Patrick, whenever I showed that to every doctor that I do a demonstration for, there hasn't been one doctor yet that has told me that their current EMR system actually gives them a revenue indicator like
Yeah.
this. That's impressive for a lot of doctors.
Yeah, because if the insurance is not current, like maybe they hadn't made their payments or whatever, it would show a red dot there, wouldn't it?
It would. Either the yellow or if it's a yellow or a red, 9 times out of 10, that doctor is not going to be getting billed or paid on that particular visit. Kent just asked the question, if I'm doing the billing for a doctor who doesn't use EMR, our EMR, does that add significant time on my end? A little bit, Ken, because again, you're going to have to, the doctors are going to be still using that old super bill. And instead of this coming in automatically, like we were showing just a moment ago, you'll input those in fairly quickly. And Ken, I know that we probably needed, I can refresh you on that if you want to see a demonstration of that again. I can show you both how it comes from the doctor, if the doctors are using our EMR, or how to do it manually. Either way, I can hopefully clarify that for you a little bit. Again, as the doctors are going through, they're going to go through, if you look way to the left side, now you're going to see this word spelled out in this tab, spelled the word SOAP, and that's what the doctors use. They use a SOAP note, which stands for Subjective Objective Assessment and Plan. Again, you're getting an education here on our webinar. We don't want to get too detailed, but this is where we're actually helping the doctor properly do all of the EMR, the electronic medical records. We actually handle that for you as a brand new licensee. Patrick, it's amazing that someone this week can walk out of training, get engaged with a doctor next week, not knowing anything that basically other than how they had to market to the doctor. And then we take this on for them from here on out.
Well, and as you know, Eric, that's because once they've signed up a doctor, we have a complete training and implementation program and personnel that does the implementation for you with the doctor's office, you see. And so you're not on your own, folks. That's the difference between starting a business by yourself and being out there and having something like a system like we have.
You bet. Yep. So, Patrick, that wrapped up day 1 and day 2. Do you want to share anything about day 1 or 2 before we get into day 3? Because day 3 is kind of where you start entering the picture there at the training class.
Well, I'll just say this, Eric, that this day where we cover the system itself, that's Mondays and Tuesdays for EMR X, the class is just thrilled when they get through with those sessions because they now realize everything I feared about learning how to do medical billing was silly because the system does all the work for you. You're a highly paid data entry person. That's all, you know.
But you know, it really does get to the part where, again, folks, you're managing the revenue, and part of that is as you kind of, if you haven't seen a demo, you'll really kind of get a good glimpse of that for yourself before you even make that decision of coming on board with us.
And, and let me just say this too, Eric.
Yeah, go right ahead.
We've offered people that we do these demos for them, and very few of the people that are on this webinar ask for a live demo. They probably think that we're going to get them into a meeting of some kind on their computer and try to close them. Folks, we don't have anything to sell. We are going to tell you everything we know about this business in these webinars, which you can come for weeks at a time. We got a guy in the class today, Eric, that had been coming for 3 years to these webinars. So
wow, amazing.
Take time, do your due diligence. Maybe it takes that long for you to put your funding together. It doesn't matter. We're going to be here every week on Wednesdays teaching you all we know about medical billing and the whole medical revenue cycle management system. Yeah.
Again, so far, I appreciate those that are asking questions. So if you feel like we get to a spot, maybe we're doing good. Maybe we're helping close a lot of gaps here for a lot of people that are listening in.
I'm going to call them out, Eric. I don't believe these people are listening right now.
Okay.
Because if you folks were listening to this and were serious about starting your own business, you'd be thinking of some questions. I know we're not answering everything, and maybe you're just waiting to the end of the webinar, but believe me, we're really, and we look over the questions. If there's one that we know we're going to get to, we just wait till then. But folks, there's so much to learn about this business. You should be really probing us Ask
Yep.
us everything we don't have anything to hide. As a company, look, Eric mentioned earlier, we have an office here in Fort Worth. If you want to come down and visit us, you can ask us to show you anything that you want to see. We've been here too long and don't want to mess up that A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We're not going to start now doing something that makes people unhappy. So let us know what we can do to help you do your due diligence so you can make that decision. Anyway, back to the demos. We don't close you on those demos. We show it to you. If you're interested, we can set up another meeting or another phone call or whatever you need to do. Or you can just tell us, you know what, after seeing it, I don't like it, goodbye. And that's the end. We don't bug people. Just unsubscribe to anything that we're sending you that you don't want to see.
Well, Nada, I hope I said your name correctly. She said that she's listening, and she has to ask a question. Would you consider, who would you consider are your strongest competitors? You know, it's hard to say that because no other billing platform has their own clearinghouse. So we're trying to be careful, not to say that we don't have any competitors, but Patrick, it does get down to the part where whenever we get that doctor to discover that the system that they're currently using, we've got a system, not a software, but a system that can get their dollars collected easier and more. It really, we kind of leave some of the competition behind just because of that. So it's hard for us to say that because there's no other billing. If there was another software out there that had its own clearinghouse, then I would think at that point we would have to be concerned that we have a real competitor. But that's where we really make a turn there. Patrick.
We're talking about the system, of course, and that may be what she had reference to as the competitive software or something. But folks, as a company, we're the only company in the United States that has a money-back guarantee. At the end of the training, if you don't like it, you get your money back. That's pretty neat. But as far as your clients are concerned, we also have marketing materials that nobody else in the market have. We have books that you can put your name on the front cover that's written by a doctor. And that's an invaluable tool, Eric. I talked with Dr. Vicki Rackner today, and she basically said to the class, folks, I'm a consultant for ABS, but when you get into business with ABS, you become partners with me. Right. That's pretty powerful. I don't know of any other companies that can do that.
Right. You bet. Robert, you asked how long does it take to install or installation to take? There is no installation. It's logging in. It's a web-based system. So it's really that easy. I see some other questions. Finally, we're getting some other questions come in. So just hang on. Jeff, I see your question. I want to get to that a little bit towards the end because I want to make sure that your question gets answered. But let's take through day 3. I mean, we're got just about 18 minutes left here on the clock for today. CodeWrite, the services that we're going to show you here, this is where we're going to get into every ancillary service that we have. And Patrick, I'm just going to kind of flip through these. If you want to kind of talk about what these ancillary services are, what they provide, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just summarize these next few slides real quickly because you can find out more about this from your ABS coach that sent you to this webinar, or go back to our website. There's a lot there. CodeWrite, again, as it says right there, it's a huge market that you're going to have out there, guys, because you don't have to know the codes. The doctors and their staff are the ones that give you the codes. Now, if they have questions about codes, we have 100 certified medical coders on staff that are ready to answer questions for you and the doctor's office. Now, there's a fee involved, but you pass that on to the doctor, you mark it up, you know, it's a business, you make money on it. But I mean, it's a great service because it can increase a doctor's revenue up to 30% if they get their codes right. So that's what this is. We do it all for you. And let me just move right on. Audit Guard. This is a great one because every doctor knows that Medicare can come anytime they want to in their office and do an audit. What they do is they pull some of their patient charts. They look at the codes that the doctor used and sees if the doctor's codes are accurate, consistent, and so forth. This can cost a doctor because when Medicare does that audit, they can fine them thousands of dollars if they find stuff in their codes. So we have a system, an online system that can make sure that the doctor is going to be completely in tune with what Medicare says. And here's the reports that service can provide to the doctor Very valuable. Believe me, folks, when you see this, you'll see that this is a way that you can open the doors to any doctor's office, because they all need to be on top of all this stuff, or Medicare can come back and, again, fine them thousands of dollars. All right, quick collect. If you're wondering, you don't have to do any collection. You're not going to call up little old ladies and ask them for money or anything like that. But when patients don't pay, we've got a way of recovering that money from them that completely eliminates the need for a collection agency. And so the doctors love this too, because we've increased doctors' income, tremendously by collecting some of that money that, they haven't collected from the patients. iDocs Now, I mentioned this earlier, all doctors have to keep their paper records for 7 years. That's why you see all those folders there in that brochure there on that illustration on the laptop, using those in doctors' offices. Well, guess what? All of that is taking up valuable space in the doctor's office and can all be digitized, scanned in to our online system called iDocs Now. It's 100% HIPAA secure, which means it is secure. It's been tested. And that frees up space in the doctor's office, valuable business office space. They could have another patient room to see more patients, for example. So anyway, this one is invaluable. We use it here in our office. If you come to visit us, ask to see our file cabinets.
You bet.
Because we don't have any.
Right. And then there's other ancillary services that, again, we will talk about during that training workshop, but just kind of give you an overview of how we take this. And hopefully you can see, for those that kind of understand how education actually happens in the first place, it's just precept upon precept of what we're doing. We lay one foundation down, we take another layer, we just keep building, build and build and build, to where you really do, at the end of this 5 days of training, Patrick, a lot of folks walk out of here where they were not too confident on day one. By the time Wednesday, Thursday, obviously Friday comes around, the competency level and their confidence levels just really go through the roof.
Oh yeah, it's off the charts. I wish we could show everybody. Well, let's see. I think I may have do I have a training manual? Yeah. Okay, so sorry. When you come to the training, you get this manual. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. There are 26 different topics that we cover during this week's training. So folks, it's very intense. Yes, you get a lot of information, but the great thing is that all the sessions are recorded, already recorded out on the licensee support website that you'll have access to, so you can review it anytime you want to. And of course, you have all your notes when you leave the class too.
You bet. And then, excuse me, actually, you kind of start doing some marketing on Wednesday, but then when you get a chance, you actually start kicking that thing off on Thursday. And that's really where people want to really get to know, is marketing. And, I just put this slide in here because, Patrick, let's just get down to the nitty gritty. People on this webinar today, people that come through the training class, they just want to know, can I market this to the doctors? How do I do it?
It's funny, Eric, because we start the week out and everybody's excited, of course, and we start into the terminology and some medical billing basics and all that stuff. And even at the first break, there'll be people asking about, well, when are we going to get to the marketing?
Right.
And we've done this several different ways, guys, but what we've decided is that you need to know, first of all, what it is that you're marketing. So you need to know about the system. You need to know about all of our ancillary services that ties in with the marketing, because you can use those to get in the doctor's door. And then it's usually Wednesday, today, that we actually start getting into the marketing and kick that thing off. Eric, we teach about 12 different ways for them to go out, methods to go out and market this.
Right.
And like I said, every licensee that comes through, doesn't use all those methods because they may not need to. They may just use one or two and then get their first client and then get referrals. So but folks, we know that this is your concern. Yes. Believe me, we are really zeroed in on the fact that getting the client is the important part about it, because if you don't have a client, you don't have a business. So we're going to focus on that. We spent about a day and a half on the marketing, Eric, out of that week. So it's a very important section on it. And we've learned a lot of secrets that we share in the last 25 years.
Yeah. And folks, if you can see that we've got two simple words here: relationships and trust. And a lot of times it's going to be just who you know. It's going to be building this relationships within your community. Folks, if you haven't watched one of our webinars that we've had in the past where it talks about some of the things that we teach, even during the webinars. But the second part is trust. And how will a doctor even trust you if you don't even know what you actually have to offer? And so, Patrick, what you and I hear a lot of times is a lot of people said, well, I want to go kind of do some test marketing out there. Let me go see what doctors are really saying about medical billing.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. Doctors don't want to talk about how bad things really are.
Right.
Secondly, if you don't have something that is valuable to them, a doctor will never even want to talk to you or even trust you, let alone saying anything. So a lot of times you disqualify yourselves even before you try to get started, because again, the only way that I can build trust with you is through the knowledge that I have.
Right.
And that's where real trust really comes in, is that the knowledge that I have, we're building the trust here. So don't discount what we're trying to help you with right now of learning the trueness of how a doctor will learn how to trust you. And that's based upon everything that we've said from day one to where we are today.
26 more slides, Eric. I'm just letting you know that we need to move right on. Okay, we will position you as the subject matter expert. Now, what does that mean, Eric? Let's see what that means. What does it mean to be the subject matter expert?
You will have everything positioned for you. So the time that you walk out of there come Friday afternoon, when you want to start your marketing like next week, you're going to have the information that we're going to help you with to build. Here's the marketing material. So that positions you already right out of the door. You're going to have this book, all the marketing stuff, and we're going to save this last little part of it for the new thriving medical practice right at the very end of this part of it. But you're going to have all of this marketing material with you, whether it's the flyers, whether it's the books, whether it's somewhat of a drip marketing campaign that will show you exactly how this really does work. And then if you want to work with sales reps, we're going to teach you how to work with sales reps, how to hire them, how to find them, how to interview them, how to fire them, how to pay them.
Well, you might have to fire them.
You might find out that you're not even going to need a sales rep after it's all.
Like them. Yeah. All right. So, Eric, let me kind of just say this to sum up sales reps. Folks, there's some people who don't have the time or the inclination to go out and do any marketing at all. Maybe you're working a full-time job and you want to get this started. Well, believe me, we're going to show you how to find. There's people out there that they love to work on straight commission and they love to sell. You may not, but there are people who love to do that. We'll show you how to find those people. You share a little bit of commission, the setup fee, and so forth with them, and they're thrilled to be able to build a revenue income, residual income, really behind the scenes, just like you are in your own business. Okay, so here's the secret right here, Eric. We didn't even think about this a while ago when somebody asked about what's the the competition doesn't have our practice analysis. We're going to go through a step-by-step analysis, guys, and there's a page one of the actual questionnaire that we go through in the class. Every question, we talk about why you ask them, what answers you could get, and so forth, because you're going to go back to your office and prepare a report that you see on the right there based on a spreadsheet that we have. Plug in the numbers from the practice analysis in here, and then look at the bottom line. Now, this is exactly what the doctor does. I don't know if y'all can see that number down there, but we can increase this particular practice by 17% in income. That means $321,000 a year, by the way. So if it were just 1/3 that, the doctor would probably be happy to try, right? So, folks, this does all the selling for you, because bottom line is, even though the doctor here, in this case, Eric, is it based on like a 7% or 6%? I think. 6%, yeah. 6%. Even though you're charging the doctor 6%, he still pockets another $321,000 at the end of the year. They'd be a fool not to try.
Yeah, you're right. Now, you mentioned earlier about Dr. Rackner and partnering with our ABS licensees, and she has, via GoToMeetings, helped out licensees just like what we're showing right here.
Absolutely. One of the things that we teach you to do, folks, are called lunch and learns. Let me just say this. I'll give you a hint. If you don't know what that is, if I were in your city right now, today, well, give me tomorrow. If I could get there tomorrow, I could set up an appointment for you to actually share what you do with a medical practice that day.
Right.
I mean, I'm assuring you that this, done right, can get you on the doctor's calendar. And so anyway, Dr. Vicky has developed some tremendous presentations for this and can even be engaged on a consulting basis to actually do these for you. So it doesn't get any stronger than that to have a doctor who gives these to a doctor, a group of doctors, or the office staff.
You bet. And for those that want to, Patrick, I'm working with a guy right now who's already thinking about coming, looking at trying to get started. And one of the things he's already knows that he wants to do is trade shows. So we have trade show booths, a full one that you see to the left, a tabletop one that you see to the right. There's one that's actually in working condition right there in the middle with a group of licensees there. Folks, you can do whatever you'd like to do with this business, and we've got the resources that's going to get you and put you front and center with sometimes a lot of doctors right there.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than this. We'll tell you more stories about that, but let's move on. Okay.
Yeah. So now we're at day 5. We're wrapping this thing up. Thank goodness day 5 is only a half a day because we only have about 5 minutes left here. So we're going to go over support. Some of you are still trying to decide what business name, what business entity, logos design, how to order your domain, set up your phone, order ABS templates and everything else that you go. That's all done. Here's another shot with another class. This is Chad. Chad is our director of support here at ABS.
Yes, and we go through a whole session on support because, folks, look, we do make money, of course, on the license fees, but on the back end, as you're out marketing to the doctors and setting them up on our system, we're making money on that as well. Just a few pennies on each one of the transactions kind of that goes through the system. But the point is, we're making money on the back end. You're not paying it. The doctor's not paying it. We get that from our technology partners that are out there. And that's why we're motivated to provide you with this licensing support site, which is 24/7. And Eric, I had some people in the class today. We give people access to this immediately when they sign up with us, even before the training. And there were people saying, I just can't believe all that you have out there. One guy had actually bought a franchise for $200,000. And he said, Patrick, they didn't have near what you guys have on this site. Because even though we're just showing you the menus there, on each one of those pages, folks, there are dozens of videos, recorded webinars, interviews, marketing material, all kinds of ideas, thousands of stuff. We put stuff out there since, let's see, Eric, we started in 2014.
Yeah. All right, let's kind of wrap this thing up. I kind of saved the best for last, which is, okay. I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Okay, well, as we said earlier, this book, for example, is a book that we can actually have your name on the front cover, on the inside on the title page, and as having written the foreword. Now remember, we've written the foreword already. It's pretty generic. You can write your own if you'd rather. It doesn't matter. The point is, look, your contact information is right there. See on the right side there? That's your name, company name, phone number, email address, whatever you want to put inside the book. Inside the book. Now, folks, this book's on Amazon. Go out there and search for it when we get through here. The New Thriving Medical Practice. You'll see it's $24.95. We price it that way because it's worth a whole lot more than that to a doctor. And you buy these books with your name on the cover and on the inside there for about $4 a piece, Eric. That's our printing cost on these in small quantities of even like 25. Yeah. You bet. Now we give you a supply of them to begin with. That's part of your license fee. In fact, you got over 2,000 pieces of marketing material in the boxes that you get from us, but you can order those, of course, anytime you want to. Okay, Eric, what else?
You know, we're getting to the part where I'm going to be kind of talking about where the training's held. If you've got time, you want to hold on. I don't know if you got to get to your next meeting or not, but you tell me what you.
I got to run, Eric. But let me just say this, folks. If you're talking to one of your business coaches, and for some reason you just feel like, you know what, I'd like to ask somebody else that question, be sure and ask if they will let you talk to me. Yeah, I don't mind. I'll be glad to speak with anybody who's looking into getting in this business because I know how important this can be to change your life. Also, you can ask to speak to other licensees.
You bet.
And Eric's got the money back guarantee that we put up there, and basically that just says, folks, sit through our entire training week, get all of our material, ask all the questions you want, and at the end of the week, if you don't like it, you can get a full refund of your license fee. That's every penny that you've paid to ABS. Now, If your hotel cost, if you have to stay here, of course, is going to cost you something, and a flight if you have to fly down. But folks, that's very little money to invest to find out if something's real. So do that. Come visit us. Eric, thank you. I got to run. Goodbye.
Thanks, Patrick.
I'll see all of you at one of our upcoming training workshops. Thanks again, Eric.
Bye.